I am on a mission to race Unbound as fast as possible and in the easiest way possible. Now my quest for extra speed has led me here to the Silverstone wind tunnel, where I am going to be meeting up with the Rule 28 boffins to try to help me to cheat the wind. Now we are going to be testing a bunch of different stuff today to work out the time and watt savings that I could experience over the duration of the 200-mile Unbound race, crucially at Unbound race speeds. Now you might not think aerodynamics matter to you or that they matter in gravel, but I'm willing to bet once you see the results from our testing, you're going to be shocked, but in a good way. In today's testing, we are going to cover shorts and jersey versus Aero gravel race suit, a hydration backpack versus a hydration bladder in the race suit, a small, medium and large hydration pack differences, road shoe setup versus mountain bike shoe setup, the Aero gravel suits versus a custom GCN Aero gravel suits with upgraded fabrics. We're going to look at the impact of having an Insta 360 cam on my bike, normal socks versus Aero socks, and we're going to look if a water bottle down the front of your top is faster. And then in addition to that, I'll also discuss the helmet testing I conducted at Met Helmets a few weeks back at their new wind tunnel called the Tube. Now the testing we're doing today covers 25, 30 and 35 kilometers an hour at 0 degrees of yaw. But the main focus for me are the numbers that I'll be referring to at 35 kilometers an hour, which will hopefully be close to race speed for Unbound. But it's worth noting, aerodynamics are a very complicated and confusing subject. Different people riding different bikes in different riding positions will achieve different results that could be better or worse than we find. Now, having already completed two of the possibly toughest gravel races in the world already this year, I'm very much aware of how fast and brutal gravel racing can be. And then when I consider that the speeds of the men's pro race at Unbound 200 is close to 35 kilometers an hour, which is higher than most people's road rides, I'm well aware that aerodynamics is incredibly important. Now, in the examples that we're testing here today, as a broad example, a 1 watt saving in aerodynamic drag equates to around a 1 minute saving off of your total race time at Unbound, but that example is based off of an individual rider rather than riding in a group. But all of these savings are going to add up over the duration to help me go faster and have enough energy for the decisive moves.
76k down, 2 hours 30. That's quick for the road.
Now, if you watched my last video where I completed Dirty Reaver, you'll have spotted I raced in black kit. Not because I wanted to go full stealth mode, but because the race suit allowed me to carry 3 litres of water without the need for a hydration pack. By removing the straps and extra bulk you have by using a backpack and going from a jersey and shorts to a race suit, well, it helps to improve comfort, improve cooling, and in theory can reduce aerodynamic drag. So first, let's test my usual shorts and jersey against the Rule 28 gravel suit. At 35 kilometers an hour, the gravel Aero suit saves 3 watts, which we estimate to be close to a 3-minute time saving. Next, we tested the difference between a hydration backpack and the bladder inside the suit.
Do you even warm more in this one?
I filled it up straight from the tap. I didn't realise it's warm until I put it in. The other one's got cold.
Oh, fuck.
This produced our first surprising result, because the bladder in the suit tested to be the same drag as using the backpack, well, at least within the margin of error, which made very little sense.
Okay, right, hydration bladder tested with the gravel race suit. Next thing I want to find out is what impacts change in the volume of a hydration bladder has. So we go 1.5 litres, this is 2 litres, and then the big boy, 3 litres, which I think is what we're going to use at Unbound.
2 litre hydration pack. Let's go.
That'll make it better.
That did improve it on the faster, 35, the faster ones, yeah.
So it's got a blunt end to that one.
What do you mean? Like, it stops on the back quite abrupt, as is the bigger size of thing. Yeah. So where a small one sort of transitions to
But having looked more into this and testing alternative bladder options, it appears to be mostly caused from the added bulk from the plastic filling system. You see, when it's hidden inside the bag, this appears to be no issue, but when you place it in the suit, the extra bulk causes extra drag. Not a big deal you might think, but we tested it to be in the region of a 2 to 3 watt difference by using a more slimline design. So choose your hydration bladders with that in mind. Okay, so far so good. Those changes combined save in the region of 5 minutes from my race time, but that's with a 2-litre hydration bladder. I want to know how the size of it impacts the aerodynamic drag, because different events will require different fueling strategies.
I mean, the handle does make your life a bit easier right now.
It's very good for filling. It's not really helping get it in the seat.
It's a bit of shimmy down, is that better?
Yeah, that's shimmy. As far as I took it to shimmy.
I think it's going to hold the handle flat.
At our 35 kilometers an hour speeds, the 1.5 litre pack requires 238 watts, the 2 litre pack 241 watts, and the 3 litre pack just 236 watts. The differences here likely coming from the bigger pack helping to hide the bulky filling system to make it the fastest, and then the 2 litre pack appeared to be the slowest of the 3 options. Which is great news for me because it means carrying a 3 litre pack in the suit is marginally faster aerodynamically than having a 2 litre backpack on. Happy days.
Okay, now a big consideration of mine, and I think a lot of other people when they take on gravel, is do you go for a road shoe or a mountain bike shoe? I've got to use this so far, and of course the pedals that go with it. Now, from a personal perspective, especially over the long duration events, I prefer the comfort that you get from a road shoe and a road pedal because of that bigger platform. However, what I do want to find out is if the road shoe and pedal offers an aerodynamic advantage over the mountain bike shoe and pedal. But what we do need to understand is a couple of other traits. We've all seen Unbound can be particularly muddy, so the road shoe wouldn't exactly excel in those conditions. And then also there's other aspects to consider, such as a road shoe and pedal typically has a lower stack height, which means your saddle can be ever so slightly lower, and a road setup is ever so slightly lighter. So there's those to take into account too. Switch the pedals, let's get tested.
First was the mountain bike setup, which is what I typically use on the gravel bike. And then the road setup with what I think are the most amazing looking shoes I've seen for a while. The bad news though is that even after testing this twice, the road setup tested just over 2 watts slower at 35 kilometers an hour. And then at the slower speeds of 30 kilometers an hour, the mountain bike and road setup were the same. And at 25 kilometers an hour, the road setup was 1.3 watts faster. Now we tested this with and without adjusting my saddle height a few millimeters to account for the difference in stack heights between the shoe and the pedal systems, and it appeared to make no measurable difference. So mountain bike setup wins here and is worth about 2 minutes, but if it's dry, I think I'll still opt for the road setup based on what I use for most of my riding. Next came some real excitement. My new GCN custom gravel race suit was delivered to the wind tunnel during our testing session.
New suit, good to go. This actually just turned up in the post. Custom GCN design, X-Rule 28. Let me know what you think of the design in the comments. In theory, this suit should be better suited to the higher speeds that I'm hoping to be racing at, and is not actually available to everyday customers. So that's pretty cool. Now the reason for it is the different material which is used on the sleeves, which is better suited to higher speeds rather than slower speeds. So we're gonna test it. We're gonna find out how it works in my gravel bike position.
The new suit in fact tested fast up at all speeds for me. At 25 kilometers an hour, there was a 5.8 watt saving. At 30 kilometers an hour, an 8.2 watt saving.
Pretty good.
Well, it gets so much faster at 35 minutes up.
I don't want to guess. Something to sound like, because, yeah, go on.
30.5 watts.
30.5 watts.
This, but all speeds are fast through that suit, which is interesting because other people we tested on haven't been quicker at 25.
Which one in like 10 watts or something over? And 10 minutes, sorry.
Yeah, if you were to time trial the whole length of Unbound, the swap between those two suits is an 11-minute, a little bit over an 11 minutes, say.
That's literally just blown my mind.
Yeah.
I love it already.
Then you've got to also think about the swap between your bibs and jerseys.
Yeah.
Because that is an 11-minute saving versus the other rep suit. So you're already saving 2 minutes versus bibs and jerseys for that one. So now you're looking at 13 and a bit minutes.
Honestly, when people say Aero doesn't marry Gravel, it's like, it does. Trust us.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now you will have noticed that during events like Dirty Reaver and Sea Otter, some of the footage was actually filmed by me. And it was done with a camera that I could hold and clips to the front of my bike. But what I want to know is that come Unbound, is this on the front of my bike actually slowing me down by a significant amount? And if so, what is it? For the benefit of my own performance, I'm hoping it's significant, but I feel like it might not be. Let's find out.
Adding the camera to the front was 4 watts slower at 35 kilometers an hour. At 30 kilometers an hour, just 1.2 watts slower. And at 25 kilometers, well, there was no aerodynamic penalty. There are, of course, smaller cameras out there, such as the Insta360 Go 3S, but I prefer to use the Ace Pro 2 for the extra image and audio quality. While we've shown the differences a race suits can make to your normal shorts and jersey, there are other easier and cheaper ways to go faster too, such as switching your normal socks for Aero ones, and also considering an Aero mitt or glove. And this is something that has been extensively tested by Rule 28, and in fact, was their very first product when they launched back in 2017. The name, of course, being a spin on the unofficial Voluminati rules, which states, socks can be any damn colour you like. White is old school cool, black is cool too, but were given a bad image by a Texan who wore them too long. If you feel you have to go coloured, make sure they match your kit. Right, that's enough about made up rules, because this is Sam from Rule 28. So Sam, talk me through some of the advantages that people can expect from Aero socks, because you've been testing this stuff for quite a long time.
Sure. So in general, an Aero sock, you're probably looking for most people at your average speeds of sort of 5 to 7 watts. Trick is, as with a lot of things in aerodynamics, it varies from person to person. So there is no one sort of golden rule. But yeah, that's a pretty good ballpark estimation.
So we've actually tested some of the different socks today. For me, in terms of Unbound, we found some slightly interesting results.
Yeah, so gravel is quite an interesting one because the average speed is lower than your typical road race or time trial. And people usually associate Aero kit with road racing and time trial, so quite significantly higher speeds. So most things are optimized for those speeds. Gravel being what it is, the average speed is a bit lower. So quite a lot of the time, what we're seeing is things that work at those high speeds don't work the same at lower speeds. So for you, we found that our Aero-ish socks, which is a normal sock with some patterns applied to it, actually performs better than our full-on Aero sock designed for road racing and TTs.
So in terms of those differences between the socks, this is, I'm assuming, coming from the difference in the construction and material used. So explain to me why that is the case.
Yeah, there's a couple of different things going on. So you can pretty much break down aerodynamics in cycling into rough fabrics and smooth fabrics. So your shapes like an arm or a leg, you're looking at rough fabrics, typically a striped pattern of some sort. For the body, smooth fabrics tend to be better where you want to keep airflow laminar. Then sort of within that, you want to look at sort of the material construction. So we found quite a big benefit from swapping from a knitted fabric, which is easier to do, cheaper, available in quite a lot of stock, to a woven, custom-made fabric. It tends to have a much lower sort of skin friction. And then when you look at getting quite nerdy here, where the drag crisis is, you can optimize it much better for those speeds.
Okay, so explain to me drag crisis. It sounds dramatic, but talk me through it and give me an understanding on a pretty basic term.
It's kind of the valley that you would look at, so the lowest point of drag for a material. So what we've been looking at now is, instead of just applying one material for all uses, really honing in on what will be best for a target speed. Mm-hmm. The trick is that when you're looking at skin suits and things like this and how people's body shape differs, it's quite easy to look at in isolation, just looking at the material by itself, but it can change quite differently when it's applied to a person.
So, socks are by far the easiest and cheapest way for everybody to go faster, an upgrade from your washed out grey socks with holes in. But for those who want to go faster for zero consideration on how they look, next we tested a cargo base layer, which means I can put a water bottle under the front of my race suit. Okay, right. I'm in, and this is the cargo base layer with a big bottle in the front of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'm not looking very cool, but what kind of findings are we thinking?
Yeah, aerodynamics doesn't really look that cool generally. So the idea behind this is that it's kind of acting as a splitter to direct airflow away from your hips.
Yeah.
So the more sort of in a TT position you are, the better. We've seen this before.
So it might not lend itself to a ground position, but that's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, it's never cost you any drag from who we've seen it on before, and for something like Unbound, where it's basically a mission: how much water can I carry at once?
Yeah.
This is just giving you the option to add another litre of water for potentially some aero savings, but at worst, it's not cost you anything as well.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Let's find out.
Can you please tell me this?
I can't, I'm afraid.
Right, go on.
5.7 watts at 35 k an hour. So we've done the rough. No, it's just now 28 watts saving overall.
What? Yeah, suit and that front.
So that's the Aero, it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to have to look like.
Yeah.
We're going to have to look like this.
Thankfully though, when you combine that with a rear pack, it cancelled out the front bottle and was actually slower, which in my eyes is great news, because I don't really want to cycle around looking like this. So combined with clothing choices, helmet design will also have an impact too. And while I was visiting Met a few weeks back, I tested just that. The aerodynamic Manta and the vented Trenta. The tests we conducted at the Tube were at higher speeds than here at Silverstone Wind Tunnel and showed just a 2.5 watt saving using the Manta over the Trenta, but the price for that saving is reduced cooling. I also tested the short tail time trial helmet, the Coda Tronca, which was another 2 to 3 watts faster than the Manta, but with even more reduced cooling. So, if I was to take the aerodynamically fastest setup combination from all of my testing, I would be looking in the region of a theoretical 20-minute time saving at Unbound. The reality, however, could be less than that, because the estimate of 1 watt saving equaling 1 minute time saved is based on a solo rider. So the more time I spend drafting other riders will reduce the impact of the time savings we've estimated. But that's not quite going to be the case, because I'm going to be putting the camera on the front of my bike, even though I now know it's ever so slightly slower, because at the end of the day, I need to film what I'm doing. And then even though I've done a bunch of helmet testing with Mets the other day, I found out that the vented Trenta is actually aerodynamically slower than the Manta. I am going to choose to use it, and the reason for that is because I'm prioritizing the extra cooling over the little bit of extra speed. So that means if you take into consideration all of the things that we've tested and the results that we've found today, I feel like I've succeeded in my quest to gain some extra speed through careful equipment and clothing choices. And it's nice to know that come race day at Unbound, I have got a slight advantage over some of my competition. So there you go, wind tunnel testing done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed seeing this process. And I tell you what, please do get involved in the comments section down below and let me know what you think of my super cool custom GCN kit. And as always, if you want to help support our channel, subscribe to GCN and subscribe to GCNTech and turn on your notifications because there's going to be more Unbound videos coming soon. Right, I'm out of here. Love you, bye.